You are listening to the Keep the Weight Off podcast with Dr. Angela, episode number 74.
Welcome to the Keep the Weight Off podcast, where we bust all the dieting myths and discover not just how to lose weight, but more importantly, how to keep it off. We go way beyond the food, and we use science and psychology to give you strategies that work. And now your host, Dr. Angela Zechmann.
All right, so welcome back, everyone. So good to be here this week. How are you doing, Marchelle?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
We are, for the first time in a long time, in the same room together. So this is going to be a really unique and interesting podcast because we don't usually get to watch each other's facial expressions and stuff. So this is fun for us.
Yeah, this is a little different.
It is.
I like this, though.
I do too. Yeah. It's more like we're having a conversation in the clinic.
Right.
Which is interesting because this topic was born of a conversation that we had in the clinic one day last week. And we were talking about, so a lot of times people come in with their partners. And so we'll have a husband and wife team or partners come in together. And that's always really, really helpful because they're learning the same things at the same time. And they're both committed and they're both ready to go. And, we have them we send them videos to watch ahead of time. And it's just always fun when they come in and they're like both on board together and they're working together at supporting each other. I always have to warn the women that usually the men are going to lose weight quicker because they have the testosterone advantage in that case. And so I don't want women getting discouraged, but it's always so much easier when couples go through their refrigerators together. They get all the crap food out of the house. They go through the pantry together. They start planning their meals together. They start cooking together. I always think about those design magazines. Have you seen those design magazines?
Yes, I've seen them before and they seem very fake to me.
Yeah, they do. They do seem a little bit fake, but they'll have pictures of these beautiful kitchens. And, I'm all about beautiful kitchens. But do you ever see like a bag of Oreo package of Oreos or a bag of chips or anything like that sitting on the counter in any of those kitchens? It's a beautiful bowl of fruit, right? Or some tomatoes in a bowl or something that's gorgeous. And sometimes there'll even be pictures of couples chopping vegetables together, which I love because that's like idyllic modern life, right? But how often do we ever allow ourselves to actually do that? If you think about it,
right. I don't think that happens very often nowadays because everybody is working and keeping different hours. And some of the funnest times that I have though is cooking with my husband in the kitchen. Yeah, when we find time to do it,
right?
It's really fun.
It is fun. So I say, why don't we do that every night? Why don't we cook together in the kitchen every night, right? So
that would be nice.
It would be nice. So Marchelle asked me a really good question last week, and I decided we need to do a podcast on this. So Marchelle, what was the question that you asked me last week? Just let everybody in on what was going on for you.
So I remember when Rich and I first started our journey together, it was great. We were both on board. Yeah. I remember you came and helped us clean out our cupboard.
That was fun. Yeah. We all went through it together.
We did the 5-day sugar and flour detox together.
Yeah.
We even videotaped most of it together. Yeah. And
by the way, that video is on YouTube if anybody wants to watch it.
Yes. All right.
Yes, it's on YouTube in the Dr. Angela Zechmann YouTube channel, Marchelle's Sugar-Free Detox Journey or something like that.
All right.
Yeah.
So, and I just remember being really excited and he was really excited and we were both on the same page. And it seemed very easy when we were both on the same page. And I think as time went by, and I think a lot of it has to do with, we went on vacation to Mexico. And I remember once we got back from Mexico is when we started to get off track.
Yeah.
And so not only were we doing well together, but then when we got off track, we're getting off track together.
You got off track together.
So,
okay.
Yeah. So we're right now trying to figure out how to get back on track together. And it seems like if I'm really ready and I want to set a certain date, then he's not quite ready for that date, or vice versa. So that's kind of our dilemma right now, is just kind of getting back to where we were at the same time.
And in the meantime, what's going on then is like you're wanting to get refocused. Your husband and your son are like, let's order pizza.
Well, okay, so my son, I have to say, he works at a pizza place.
Oh,
so that is another issue, is that he can bring home free pizza and free hot wings whenever he wants.
Man. Okay.
And he does do that.
He does that.
And yeah, so that has been a challenge for my husband and I.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the question is, how do I get healthy, even if other people in my house aren't ready to get healthy again? Is that your question?
Yeah, that is. I would rather that we all did it together, of course, because, it just makes it, easier.
Right.
But I haven't had the challenge of having to do it on my own if he didn't want to or wasn't ready yet. So that's kind of my question on, how do you just move forward by yourself?
Right.
And not feel resentful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So think about it like this. Like, what would cause you to feel resentful? Think about that.
Well, that's a good question, actually. I think it's because I feel that this change in lifestyle, for me, sometimes it's hard work. And, it takes a lot of effort to prep meals and to stay on track. And I feel like if he's not also on board, then he's just sort of skating by. He's skating by. And I'm also worried about his health, and I'm worried about my health.
Yeah.
So I feel like also when I'm on track and I'm feeling healthier and he's not eating well, then I feel like, well, if you get sick, then
you're going to expect me to take care of you when you have your stroke.
Exactly.
And I'm going to be stuck with a paralyzed guy to take care of because you're not taking care of yourself.
And he feels the same way about me too. I mean, we're the same in that way. If he's, but like I said, we haven't had the challenge of having to do this separately, because when we first started it, we were on board together. And so, and like I said, just somehow we got off track, and we talk a lot about, needing to get back on track, and then neither one of us want to do it at the same time. So,
so you guys are both sort of struggling. Like one day you're super motivated.
Yes, exactly.
And he's like, I'm not ready yet. And then another time he's super motivated.
Right.
And you're like, I got too much going on. I can't think about it right now. So,
right.
So what's going to happen? Well, here would be my advice. My advice my advice is always this: who's most important to you? You. It's you. So I always say, you are the number one person in your life. Got to take care of yourself. Always take care of yourself. So if you're thinking about changing your lifestyle so that you're going to be a healthier person again, this is for you. This isn't for anybody else. This is purely for you. So you're going to work at eating foods that are nourishing for you, and it doesn't matter what's going on around you.
So then you're saying I would do my own grocery shopping for my own food, and he would do
his own grocery shopping for his own food.
Okay, that's a little different.
Yeah. So you wouldn't necessarily, you might be eating together, but you might not be eating the same things together. Right?
So he would cook his own, or whatever he's doing.
Right.
He does his own thing and I would do my own thing?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Is that possible?
I guess it's possible. It'd be different.
Yeah. The thing that you have to recognize is your addiction brain is going to see him eating stuff that it wants.
Oh, for sure.
At least in the beginning. Yes. In the beginning, your addiction brain is going to go, well, he's eating pizza and I really want that. And so it's going to be challenging for you. But if you've set it up ahead of time, and if you've done a 24-hour plan, and then this is another important piece of this, is you have a 24-hour plan. So you have a plan so that you know exactly what you're going to be eating for the next 24 hours. And this plan comes from your prefrontal cortex, or we've talked about this before. This plan comes from the part of your brain that has your long-term goals in mind and knows that you want to be a healthy, vibrant person. And when your kids have grandchildren, you want to be around for your grandchildren and all of that, right? Your primitive brain wants its fix right now. So when you have your 24-hour plan and your husband and son are eating the pizza that your son brought home from work and the wings, and your primitive brain is like, I want that, you're going to say, well, that's not on the plan. That's not part of the plan. Okay. Remember, we have a long-term goal here. And so I'm not saying it's easy, but I am saying that over time, doing it over and over and over again, it gets easier each time to stick with your plan. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And I have asked my son to quit bringing home pizzas.
Yeah.
Because that has become an issue. It's
yeah.
The convenience of him being able to bring home free pizza and wings whenever he wants.
Right.
But I think that because we're all addicted to the sugar
and the
flour.
Yeah.
All three of us in the family. So I know that we all struggle now that we've gotten off track. I know we all want the same thing. We all want to eat healthier. We want to get back on track. But that part of our brain, that addictive part of our brain, is fighting that, and we're kind of feeding off of each other. So
yes.
nothing's happening.
Well, and the other thing that you have to understand is that you're living in a culture where this type of eating is basically glorified, right? You're living in a culture where most people whip through drive-thrus and they think nothing of it. And they will go to the grocery store and we've got the 4th of July coming up. So I'm just seeing all these 4th of July cookies and cupcakes, and people are going to have 4th of July barbecues, and there's going to be lots and lots of crap around. I was just at a barbecue over the weekend, and I was surprised at all the stuff that people brought. But these aren't people that I know, and these are people that I was just getting to know. And there were chips and cakes and cookies and all kinds of stuff. Yeah. And it was like, wow, this is what other people really do this. It was kind of surprising to me because in my world, most people eat pretty healthy food. And once in a while, somebody will bring some crap over, but, I just ignore it. So it's all about recognizing what's going on in this country and learning to say no thanks to that. And here's the other piece of it, not being worried about what they might think if I choose to eat normal, healthy food. It's nobody else's business what goes in your mouth. And frankly, it's not your business what goes in their mouth either. Right. It's your business to take care of yourself and to make sure that what goes in your mouth, anytime you bend your elbow to feed yourself, is this going to be something nourishing for me, or is this going to be something that is going to feed my addiction brain? Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but it sounds a little bit difficult because, when you're in a marriage and you're paying for groceries together and shopping together and eating together, you typically eat the same foods as each other.
Yeah.
So it's
so this is a little bit of
it's just going to be a whole different experience.
It's a paradigm shift, but here's what I think is probably going to happen is he's going to see you being very consistent with new nutrition habits, and he's going to say, look at Marchelle, she's losing weight, she's feeling great. I want a piece of that. I want to be like that too.
I hope so.
Austin is probably, he's what is he, 18, 19?
And 19, yes.
So he thinks he's going to live forever. That's what they do at that age. He's probably not going to be interested in changing anything, which is fine. But he might look at you guys and say, oh, my parents are really, they're eating healthy. He's got an older brother that's kind of into nutrition too. So who knows what might happen. But if you stand there and you focus on you and pay no attention to anything else, you just focus on you and getting yourself healthy again, there will likely be a ripple effect.
All right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it sounds like a great plan.
And think about, the other thing I want you to think about is, and all of our listeners, I want everybody to think about other socially acceptable drugs. And I like to think of alcohol as a socially acceptable drug. Nicotine used to be a socially acceptable drug. It is now no longer a socially acceptable drug, except some people smoke cigars, and that seems to be more socially acceptable than cigarettes. But if you think about a socially acceptable drug, if there are people who are alcoholics and their brains do not handle alcohol well, like they have a drink and then they can't stop. And so abstinence is the best policy for them. Well, what do? They go to AA meetings and they're in AA and they're probably in the beginning going to several meetings a day. I've known people who are like, yeah, I went to 3 meetings today. And anytime that they are going to go to a function where, especially in the early stages of it, where they know there's going to be alcohol, they'll go to an AA meeting first and they'll get that social support that they need, right? When you're noticing that you're struggling with sugar and flour, it's not the same. And so what we need is a support for people who are struggling with sugar and flour. And frankly, I think there are a lot more people that struggle with sugar and flour than there are people that struggle with alcohol. Would you agree?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. And so we kind of need to band together and help each other out,
right.
And not let all of these social, like for example, I'm noticing on my Facebook feed, friends and relatives who have babies, and they're counting how old the child is by how many months the child is, and they lay them down on a blanket, and they'll spell out 3 with cookies, frosted cookies or frosted cupcakes or donuts or something. They'll spell that out. And then they'll say, ha ha, let's watch the child roll over and start eating the stuff, and they'll take pictures of that. And I'm just like, I'm abhorred by that. I'm like, do you know what you're doing to this child's brain? You're already setting them up.
I don't think that there's enough awareness, though, because
I don't think there is either.
think enough people really know the damage that they're doing at such a young age. Because also, I'm not sure if you've seen the videos of the baby's first birthday and they get their own cake.
Oh, yeah.
And then they get to eat as much as they want of it. And then they get all over the face. Yeah. And they take pictures of it. And like I said, when I was an infant, my mom gave us Jell-O water.
Yeah.
That was just the Jell-O, the mixture of Jell-O, because it was sweet.
Yeah.
And I used to love it.
Yeah.
I used to call it red water.
Yeah.
And she just had no idea, back then. She didn't know.
Yeah.
And I got addicted to sugar at a very, very young age.
Yeah.
And so I've been struggling with it and still do struggle with it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not easy to do this.
So when you're aware that you're changing your nutrition habits and you live in a culture where we're either binging all the time or we're dieting and we're being good, right? It's just chaotic in your brain what can happen. And so getting the support that you need is super, super important, right? So that you don't feel so alone in this. Right. So just be aware of that. People just don't understand. You're right. There's just not an awareness of what this drug is doing to our brains. It's 8 times more powerful than cocaine. You would not count out your child's birth months, with lines of cocaine.
That'd be a little weird.
Or packs of cigarettes. It was interesting. I don't care what other people think about my food intake. And I don't know if I told you this story. I was in Minnesota last weekend it wasn't a family reunion, but we had cousins there from all over the place. And I had aunties and everybody wanted to go out for ice cream. So we went to this ice cream place. I can't remember the name of it now, Brannigan's or I can't remember, but my aunt was telling me the story. She's 90 years old now. And she was telling me she had not been to this place in 75 years.
Oh.
Because she moved away And now she had come back, and her memories were of, they lived south. This is in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. They lived south on a farm, and her aunt and uncle used to bring them up to this ice cream place. And so we walk into the ice cream place, and I was like bowled over by just how sweet it felt. I mean, just how sweet it smelled. It was incredible. It was a 95-degree day, and everybody is getting their ice cream. And they're like, Angela, you going to have any? I'm like, no, I'm not.
See, that is hard.
I'm not having any, because why would I not have any? Well, because I know that if I eat that ice cream, I'm up for days and days and days worth of cravings for it. And I'm going to get bloated. I'm going to feel sick. I'm going to feel disgusting. I'm like, no, thanks. I'm fine. No worries. And it was fun for me because I got to talk to my aunt. I didn't have to worry about whether I was trying to, keep ice cream from falling all over me and melting on me and all that stuff. I just got to spend time with my relatives. They didn't care whether I had anything or not. They couldn't have cared less whether I ate anything or not. I'm just like, no, thanks. I need water though. Give me some water. So it's entirely possible to bond with people without indulging in the drug,
Yeah, so that's always been a struggle for me because, like I've said before in the podcast, our family traditions are based a lot on baking and, birthday cakes at parties and, Christmas dinners, with 5 different kinds of desserts that my mom hand makes. And, and so what the struggle in that is that if you say no to the desserts that she made, then she has her feelings hurt because she took so much time to make them. So I'm not sure if anybody else deals with that, because I was just wondering how your family reacted to that. I get that you went out to an ice cream shop, but it wasn't an ice cream that your mom made for the family.
If my auntie had made some ice cream, would I have had some? I would have said, they all know me by now. Like I've trained them.
Right.
Like she would have said, well, you're probably not going to want any of this, but I'm going to let you know I'm making it just in case.
Okay.
So once you sort of really start understanding that this isn't about them, this is about you, and you stop trying to manage their feelings, and you just let them know ahead of time, like, I know we've always had all of these Christmas traditions, but I just want you to know that I've discovered that my brain doesn't really do well on this stuff and my body doesn't really like it either. So I'm not going to be indulging in the typical Christmas traditions anymore. And don't take it personally. Like, it's not that I don't love you, but I'm probably not going to be eating any of the desserts that you bring for Christmas.
Right.
So, and you let everybody else do whatever they want to do.
I think that's where the changing your identity part comes in. That's so important, is because you're not just on a diet.
Yeah.
And once so that's starting to make sense to me.
Yeah.
What you're saying is that you have to change your whole identity, and then people around you will know this about you, and it will become easier. Okay.
Yeah.
So I do understand that, because at this point it's been a struggle because they don't know me as somebody who wouldn't eat a piece of pie.
Right.
I've always been the person that will eat all 5 of, pieces of the desserts.
Right.
If they say, hey, what kind of pie do you want? I said, I'll have, one of each.
Yeah.
And so, I'm starting to put that together. So I know now why you do that work is because you have to teach them
you have to teach other people that you're not the same person that you used to be.
It makes sense.
And you have to really incorporate that own identity in it has to be solid in your own head first, before you can actually feel authentic teaching it to somebody else, telling somebody else who you now are.
Right.
So the more your brain watches you in these new behaviors, the more solid of an identity it will feel. It will feel a little bit disingenuous at first, but as your brain watches you do it more and more frequently, you'll be like, okay, that's who I am now. Like I'm somebody who goes to an ice cream store with my family and I don't have the ice cream. No problem. It's not a problem at all. But it takes practice and it takes time and it takes support, right?
Right.
So that you don't feel completely alone. So I just want everybody to know that we do have a wonderful community of people who can help support you in empowered weight loss. And we're there for you if you want to join us. It starts with the Done with Dieting Bootcamp. Just go to journeybeyondweightloss.com and you'll see a tab there to join us in the Done with Dieting Bootcamp if you're interested in that. And as part of the Done with Dieting Bootcamp, basically it's your first month of empowered weight loss. And so you can already get into the membership there and join us in our calls. We have calls once a week, group calls where I'm teaching really solid information about how to manage this disease. And in a society where, for God's sake, we're counting babies' months with cupcakes.
Right. You're going totally against the grain when you do this. It's not easy.
Yep. It's not easy unless
but it's worth it.
You can make it harder on yourself though, too, if you start trying to manage other people's thoughts too. That's the other thing is when you're trying to manage the way everybody else feels about you, that makes it really hard. If you just are like, this is who I am, and you stop worrying about what other people think, then they accept you or they don't accept you. And if you're working at being a healthy person and somebody else is not accepting that about you, that might be somebody that you don't want to spend a lot of time with. When you think about it, like if they don't have your best interest at heart, what kind of friends are they? Really,
Right.
So, or they might be jealous because they wish they could do what you're doing. That's the other thing.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot to think about.
It's a lot to think about. So, all right. Well, we have to get back to work now. So, great talking to all of you. And thanks for listening. And we will see you all next week. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Hey, if you really want to lose weight and keep it off for good, your next step is to sign up for Dr. Angela's free weight loss course, where you're going to learn everything you need to get started on your weight loss journey the right way. Just head over to journeybeyondweightloss.com/free course to sign up. Also, it would be awesome if you could take a few moments and write a review on iTunes. Thanks, and we'll see you in Journey Beyond Weight Loss.